This is such the ultimate yin-yang, yes-no, back-forth type of a situation of a season for the Giants. Yes, they are, one more out away from technically being in a playoff spot, yet no one feels good about it. And I get it. J.D. Davis is going to join us here in about 5 minutes. And so we look forward to this conversation. But to sort of reset what we were talking about earlier, great work, I thought, by Tim Kawakami, Susan Slusser, Alex Pavlovich, and more. There have been conversations clearly behind the scenes that have gone all the way up to the ownership level to check in on Farhan and Gabe's job status. And the current word is they will be back next year. That's the vote of confidence for now because they're under contract. But what you can tell when you read between the lines is ownership is frustrated. And they have a right to be. And what I found eye-opening, and this was mainly from Kawakami, his article in The Athletic was really good. I found it eye-opening that Farhan has a number of times gone to ownership to say, hey, we would like this expenditure. We'd like that expenditure. We want to go with a big contract offer over here. He has been told every single time, yes. Yes. You go right ahead.
Are you going 100 pence on me right now? Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes, we can.
Totally. Si
yes,
se
you
puede.
can. Si se puede. Okay? Yes, you can. So this changes things, not changes things. It helps me understand something that I didn't know. I did not know if the frustration in going for long-term contracts, big money deals. We know the Giants have been involved, but I did not know where's the hesitation. Where's the hesitation to go bigger, even bigger? Is it at the ownership level?
Right.
Is it at the Farhan level? It's at the Farhan level. He is the one who philosophically is uncomfortable with the long-term deal, not ownership.
Right.
That's fascinating to me.
Well, and I do want to defend Farhan to the extent of what I said earlier, which is so far, for the most part, if you want to look at players on whom they were in or should have been in, he's batting about 800 in terms of right or wrong. Gosman, I think, was a miss. Bryce Harper was a miss. And could they have invested more money into a possible contract and gotten him? I think they might have, but they didn't. Aaron Judge, I don't think that they were going to get him. Carlos Correa, they had him on the hook like your kid catching a bass up at Bon Tempe, and he threw him back. And that so far has worked out. Carlos Rodon, you should have given him a long-term extension based on what he did. Farhan said no thank you, right. And that's worked out. And we could go through the other ones that he hasn't been in on that have worked out. For the most part, his financial prudency has been good. His gut has been right on many of these deals. However, the bottom line for me is the product you're putting out there is not that attractive.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, though. If you just avoid every long-term deal, you're going to be right more than half the time.
Correct. Yeah.
So if you just avoid them all, you're going to have a high batting average, and that's not fair. It's flat out not fair. Now,
it's bad business is what it is.
The backing for what Farhan has done philosophically, which there's no two ways about it, I have supported from the jump with fervor. We all know this because I think conceptually it makes sense. However, you have to, and this sometimes is out of your hands, but you have to execute. You have to not just try, you have to do. This is very Yoda. Okay? There is no try. There is do or do not. So you can be at the party with Judge and Harper and Stanton and Ohtani. But if you don't bring any of them home, it doesn't matter. Now, it also doesn't matter if your team is then exciting and good. It's not. And so that's where the bottom line comes in, where Farhan, for me, he can sit in a room and say, here's the philosophy. We have to build the farm system. They did. That has to bear fruit. It has. Starting to.
Yeah.
It's starting to. And then you pounce on the big fish. You have to be there with the finances at that time, and they've tried, but they have not been able to succeed. And when you can't succeed, you have to be able to pivot and put together a good product that both wins and is interesting, and they haven't. So it's not all bad for me, but in the end, it's almost like the conversation we're just having about McVay and Shanahan. For a lot of people, they're like, Shanahan can be the better coach all you want. McVay's got the ring. Well, Farhan can have a good idea all he wants, but if the final piece is making the team interesting to a crowd and you don't do that, the rest of the stuff doesn't matter.
Right. Unless you win 107 games and go on and win the World Series, which they didn't do. And I think that this conversation is even more appropriate now based on the last offseason, and put the Aaron Judge and the Carlos Correa signings or non-signings aside. What they did do, I don't think has really worked out, because you look at Michael Conforto, 2 years and $36 million. That's been okay. Mitch Haniger has been a miss, and you've got him for next year. And if you go back to the previous year, DeSclafani has been a disaster. Sean Manaea hasn't been great. And Ross Stripling has been okay, but not quite good enough. So even the moves that he did make, which are middling moves, these are players who are making 10 to 15 to 18 million a year. These are not high-priced, mega free agents,
right.
But instead of going and getting those guys, you chose to get 5 or 6 middling veteran pieces, and none of them has really popped like our next guest has popped.
Well,
he was in a trade.
He's done pretty good, and he was in a trade. And actually, that would be sort of one of my questions for Farhan. Like, you know this. I think this is true for everybody at every level, no matter what it is you do in life. For me, the way I relate to it often is parenting. If you're a parent, you know darn well that you have a plan for the day, and it never goes that way. And so what does that mean? You have to be prepared to pivot.
Pivot, don't panic,
okay,
as
so
the roast will tell you.
I'm right. I am not going to get on Farhan for the fact that Aaron Judge wanted to stay a Yankee. That's not Farhan's fault. But what's plan B? And then Farhan would say, well, Carlos Correa. Okay. And then when you back out of that, what's plan C? Well, plan C apparently was Mitch Haniger.
And Michael Conforto.
And injuries and boredom. And so that's not good enough. That's not good enough.
Yeah, it's not. And it's unfortunate that you had injuries. Conforto's been better than Haniger. Conforto coming off an entire missed season, and he's been better than it looked early on. And Mitch Haniger has been unable to really be healthy. And then you add in, Mark, the mix of players in and players out, and that is a turnoff in and of itself. And not only for older fans like myself, but for younger fans, if you want to really latch on to a team and you want to watch them every day, you want to know that your guy is going to be in there. If you're a Braves fan and you like Acuna Jr., you're pretty certain that he's going to be in the lineup, no matter what.
Well, listen, he has said it out loud before. We want more everyday players. They haven't been able to land them. Well, and it's like you can go person by person and say, well, this is why we didn't get this guy, and this is why we didn't get that guy, and this is why we didn't get this guy over here. And you're like, totally, I get it, and I get why it's difficult and all of those things. But ownership is sitting there going, bottom line, our attendance is not doing what it needs to do. And so it's a problem. So the heat is starting to get turned up a little bit, and oddly it comes while the Giants are right in the thick of potentially ending up in the playoffs.